Hold on to your wigs, ladies and gentlemen, because the courtroom not only heated up, but also descended into complete anarchy. Have you ever witnessed a rapper sob uncontrollably as their man stands up to them? Yes, it just took place. Now, it's the self-described Bronx bombshell, Remy Ma, who is pleading for forgiveness. And from her own husband, Papoose, rather than the judge. Just now, the man who formerly supported her through label flops and jail bids entered the witness box. Let's just say that loyalty departed. But hold on, it gets worse. We're talking about security pulling people out, screaming bouts in the corridor, and Remy just plain passing out in a fit of wrath. A front row ticket at Summer Jam. That would be Jasmine Dior. Like, where's your regret, miss? For example, what's up with your sorriness? Where's your sorrow? I mean, I don't really care what I go through with no one in the end. I would never wish for somebody to pass away. Regarding none of that, I could care less. For example, no one did anything to you. You're acting like you're upset about something, you little gremlin. Ice searing someone's unsightly behind. In front of a courthouse, you then act tough. We're going to jail, like you've served time in prison. What are we doing here? I'm sure you don't want to go back. Approach the corner. In reality, you're not tough. For example, the daughter of the Manry's son is insane _ supposedly killed. What were the secrets that Papoose disclosed? Why was Remy heard mumbling, "I knew this day would come"? And why is it that many are speculating that her family may not be the only ones affected by this trial? Get your popcorn, darling. It's not a trial. It is a takedown, and it is only beginning, so bang. Remy Ma believed she was entering a courtroom as a proud ride-or-die mother standing behind her son. However, what did she enter? Oh, that was a ready-made broadcast meltdown. It's because Jaws dropped more forcefully than Ree's latest mixtape when that judge called Papoose to the stand and he really stood up. Not to mention that this is the same man who restrained her during her 6-year prison sentence. The same man who supported her during her darkest moments, wrote love poetry, and paid her regular visits. He is currently providing testimony on behalf of the prosecution. When Remy's name was spoken, you could hear his soul departing her body. Wait for him. She blinked again, and that's when things started to go wrong. The level of security increased. The cameras angled closer. Journalists began. The final betrayal plot twist that no one had planned was the picture of Papoose, motionless and expressionless, making his way to that witness box. Or did they? Let's go back. Here's the tea in case you arrive late to the mess. Jason J. Scott, the son of Remy Ma, is presently on trial for the alleged shooting death of Darius Gilbo, a parent, businessman, and, according to sources, someone with far too much knowledge. In 2021, the purported murder occurred in Queens. However, the case. Why? Because some anonymous video footage, GPS pings, phone records, and fresh digital proof all appeared out of nowhere. Can you guess who assisted the DA in obtaining those files? Yes, that section. Papoose has been quietly collaborating for months. According to rumors circulating in the courthouse hallways, he has confirmed timeframes, leaked location information, and even behavioral patterns that prosecutors say demonstrate Remy's involvement in the crime's cover-up. We'll let you determine if that's factual or simply some spicy legal fiction. Let's be honest, though. If your spouse is more familiar with your schedule than you are and starts, is it not betrayal on a whole new level to share it with those who are attempting to lock up your child? The courtroom was full. Influencers, journalists, and former high school rivals who only wished to see her fail. Everyone was present. At one point, Fat Joe even poked his head in, but he bounced back when everything became too cluttered. You could feel the temperature change as soon as Papoose raised his hand to swear in. Remy's expression went blank, as if her internal playlist had been turned off. She mouthed some murmurs. Why? The victim's daughter, Jasmine Dior, was seated in the front row. glaring down at Remy like she was the antagonist in a Tyler Perry finale, so she was unable to finish. Let's not overlook the identity of Jasmine Dior. She has been outspoken since day one. POSTING cryptic messages seeking justice for her father and denouncing industry cover-ups. However, she brought fire today. Papoose smirked, lifted her chin, and took out a notepad as soon as she began talking. Rumor has it that she wasn't merely there to watch. She was anticipating the meltdown, and it came cold. Papoose's tone was cool and collected as he opened his testimony. It's just facts, no feelings. Or what he referred to as facts. Yes, when Jace returned home that evening, I was at home. Indeed, the argument earlier that day was something that Reminisce knew about. Yes, I told them both to keep silent until legal assistance could be obtained. Hold on. What? The magistrate bent forward because of what Papoose had just said on the record, which implicated her in obstruction of justice. The DA grinned. And Remy let out a loud scream as if reality had finally hit her in the chest. Not merely poor parenting, not merely a front for her son, but outright manipulation. The atmosphere escalated when the judge signaled for stillness despite her attempts to get up and mutter something to her attorney. Across the courtroom, she reportedly mouthed, "You promised me." He simply looked down and continued speaking without flinching. The actual dagger then appeared. According to Papoose, Remy Ma allegedly paid $20,000 to an unidentified person who was connected to the Gilbo case a week after the murder. Hush money, diversion money, and damage control money are implied. No one explicitly stated it, yet the suggestion, the whole courtroom went crazy as Jasmine Dior abruptly got up and yelled, "Tell them about the burner phone, Papoose." Security sprang into action. People let out a shout, as if they were machine guns. Cameras clicked. And she didn't move, Remy, as if she had just seen a ghost. She sat motionless, her eyes wide open and her hands clenched. At that point, the court declared a recess. People rushed out. To phone their editors, reporters sprinted. And Remy Ma fell back in her seat, unable to breathe, was unable to cry, simply sat there, inconsolable. The drama didn't end there, though. Oh no, the corridor became a battlefield. Jasmine Dior made sure to follow Remy Ma as she was led out by security. According to witnesses, Jasmine screamed, "Your son took my father. Now your husband's taking your legacy." Remy spun around. For a split second, it looked like she was ready to throw hands, but instead she whispered something chilling. "Isn't over? You think this is justice? Watch what happens next." And just when we thought it couldn't get any messier, one of the reporters, allegedly from an online gossip blog, caught audio of Remy on the phone right after stepping outside. She was screaming, "Tell my lawyer to pull every email, every message. He has war if that's what he wants." The million-dollar question is, who is she talking about? Papoose, the DA, or someone higher up? Rumor has it that this whole thing goes deeper than just a family betrayal. There are rumors of underground connections, sealed records, and payments that can be linked to industry executives. Some say this trial might just be the beginning of a much bigger takedown, one that could shake the hip-hop world from the inside out. As the chaos outside the courthouse continued, an unmarked black SUV with no license plates and a tall man in a gray suit pulled up. Remy Ma recognized him immediately, and she stopped mid-sentence, her face turning pale and without saying a word. The internet is in a tailspin now, with fans wondering who the man is, why she left so quickly, and more importantly, what happened when she switched sides. Imagine this. Remy Ma, just off a courtroom ambush from her own husband, collapses emotionally, then gets into a black SUV driven by a man she clearly recognizes. And then she disappears from the public eye for more than 5 hours. No one knows where she went, no phone calls, no Instagram stories, not even a vague tweet tanned. There was radio silence until a few hours later. when a leaked audio recording purportedly taken from inside that very SUV and recorded by an unnamed driver hit the blogosphere like a nuclear bomb. In the clip, Remy Ma is heard saying, "He's not going to ruin me," implying that she was likely paid off by someone who had too much time and too few morals. Not after all that I had concealed for him? Now, who exactly? There were audio recordings, screenshots, and what looked to be transaction logs inside, which may have been connected to hush money paid to a woman who was allegedly an eyewitness that night in Queens. What's more bizarre is that one of the communications was labeled, "Tell Jace to stay low." Curiosity destroyed the trust. Okay. Now, I know what you're thinking. Is any of this confirmed? Of course not. That's the beauty of leaked info, but the blogs went into overdrive. The phrase PRVT_evidence_J trended harder than any of Rhee's singles this decade. Meanwhile, back at the courthouse, Jasmine Dior wasn't letting up. She went live on Instagram, standing in front of a huge crowd of supporters, and said, "This is bigger than my father. I can assure you that they attempted to buy my silence, but they were unable to do so. This is about the truth." Mic dropped. She then pulled out what she claimed was the burner phone, the same one she had screamed about in the courtroom. And guess what? It had voicemails. One in particular was chilling. A distorted voice assumed to be Remy Ma saying they can't connect it back to Jace. He was wearing gloves. You know that? Viewers were shook. The comment section is a battlefield. Some fans started turning on Remy, saying, "This isn't the woman we rode for during that jail argument." Others maintained that Remy was being framed and that everything was a setup, that the phone was planted, that Jasmine Dior is being used. But remember, Papoose hasn't denied a single leak yet. In fact, according to one courthouse assistant who spoke to a gossip blog under a false identity, Papoose gave the DA a backup drive 2 weeks ago. Yes, a backup drive labeled Rem for you. That's either a digital dagger or a breakup gift, depending on your perspective. And speaking of betrayal, what friends? Fat Joe posted a vague statement on Twitter that said, "I pray for all involved." Some wounds don't heal, huh? The story wasn't finished yet. Later that same evening, 3 major hip-hop news pages received an enigmatic Dropbox link that included a blurry security camera clip from a gas station dated the night of the murder, showing a car that matches the one Jace was allegedly driving parked next to a black SUV registered to Papoose. Now, let's pause. Did Papoose know about the murder before it even happened? Did he witness it, or worse, help them escape? And here's where it gets complicated. A voice on the video tell your parents to switch off. The dash cam, it says, the timestamp read 11:47 p.m., just minutes before the gunshots that killed Darius Gilbo were reported. Yes, Papoose's halo suddenly began to slip. Some people think he flipped to protect himself, while others think he was trying to clean up his mess before the feds came knocking. In any case, Remy, she's not just mad. She's ready to scorch earth. According to another insider who claims to have worked PR for Rhee's team back in 2019, she's preparing a sealed countersuit, claiming entrapment, tampered evidence, and yes, emotional manipulation, whatever that means. Don't think she's suffering alone either, as sponsors have begun to withdraw from her projects. A sneaker collaboration was postponed, and her planned podcast relaunch was removed from the network's website. One label executive even revealed that Love and Remy, a reality spin-off series in the works, is on indefinite hold because of legal sensitivities. But it gets even worse. Just before the courthouse closed for the night, a large delivery van pulled up, and a representative from a high-end florist brought out a huge bouquet for Jasmine Dior. The card was anonymous, but rumor has it that the handwriting matched Papoose's. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room, or rather, the envelope in the courtroom. Nobody knows what was in it, but a court sketch artist claims to have seen the words "For your eyes only" printed in red on the front. Drama check, intrigue double check. The DA, the judge, and Ree's defense team reportedly had an emergency conference call after that envelope, during which no cameras were permitted, no audio, no notes, but all further witness testimony was postponed for 48 hours. And just when you thought it couldn't get any wilder, a former producer from Remy's past emerged with a mysterious video saying, "I was with her the night before the murder." She continued talking about loose ends and was in a frenzy. It was. Only now that I understood what she meant. Is he pursuing clout? Yes, without a doubt. Is the internet taking it all in any case? You already know. Public pressure is growing. Protesters have shown up outside the courthouse calling for justice for Darius Gilbo. While Remy fans, the Remy Hive, have begun trending #FreeRemyMa again. One side is screaming justice. The other is screaming setup. And what about Jace? Man at the center of it all has not spoken yet. No leaked footage, no interviews, no jail notes, just silence. Some claim he is making a deal while others claim he is being protected. But until he speaks or breaks, the guessing game goes on. The final testimony session is scheduled for the following day before pre-verdict deliberations start. That. Remy confessed to failing to prevent a violent act. This is true. It's not just bad optics. It's legal dynamite. To recap, Remy Ma watched her entire life fall apart faster than a lace front in a downpour. Her son was facing prison time. Her husband turned on her. The public was divided, and now her private therapist was subpoenaed by the prosecution. No, it's serious when therapy sessions go from healing trauma to being used as evidence, according to court insiders. The therapist was called in to ascertain whether Remy Ma ever expressed knowledge of the murder beforehand, or worse, if she confessed to planning a cover-up. "I feel like I could have stopped it. I told Jace to stay calm. I didn't think it would go that far." Boom. That one line turned a tearful confession into an indirect admission of guilt. And guess who was there? Locked in, taking notes like a federal agent in disguise. Jasmine Dior. She had the same energy as someone who had been doubted for too long and finally had the last laugh. But wait, it gets messier. The courtroom was interrupted halfway through the therapist's testimony when a bailiff rushed in with a sealed document. The judge opened it, read it for about 15 seconds, and then recessed the court without warning or explanation. Then the rumors began to circulate. Two anonymous sources, who are likely interns with iPhones and no non-disclosure agreements, claimed that the document was a wiretap transcript, and the voice on that wire was said to be Remy Ma. The feds had reportedly been monitoring her activities for months before deciding to play their last card. The transcript purportedly contained a conversation between Remy and an unidentified male voice, who was rumored to be an industry fixer connected to several payoffs. "If they press him too hard, he'll fold," Remy is heard saying. "Must be buried before it reaches the courtroom." It's the public, the bloggers, and the courtroom had already made the connection. So she didn't have to mention names. But that's when it happened. The room fell silent as Papoose returned to the courtroom as a last-ditch rebuttal, not as a witness, and asked permission to make one more statement for the record. His voice cracked as he stood up and said, "I loved that woman more than life. I stood by her when nobody else would. But when I found out she used me to help hide things I never agreed to, I had to make peace with what was right." He paused and said, "Jace isn't innocent. But he isn't the only one who should be held accountable." Remy Ma, when the court resumed, her defense team pulled their final ploy. They claimed that the wire to Poi is illegal and that it violated attorney-client privilege because it occurred during a conversation about legal strategy. However, the judge didn't buy it, denied the motion, and admitted the transcript into evidence. We're talking full breakdown, body shaking, knees weak, lawyers surrounding her. The judge had to order a brief recess to allow her to gather her thoughts. But the internet didn't stop scrolling, and YouTube Live streamed fake legal experts breaking it down. Then came the closing statements. The prosecution didn't hold back. This isn't just a case of a mother defending her son. This is a case of deliberate manipulation, bribery, and obstruction of justice orchestrated by someone who thought fame made her untouchable. The defense, on the other hand, leaned heavily into sympathy. Yes, mistakes were made, but show us one parent who wouldn't move heaven and earth. Boom. Meanwhile, outside the scene was like a festival, with protesters on both sides, fans holding signs stating that Remy is innocent and others demanding justice for Darius. Earth to protect their child. Don't punish a mother's fear. Don't let grief cloud the facts. Subreddits were ablaze with conspiracy theories. The internet held its breath. The jury returned 3 hours later. This was the fastest deliberation in the history of the courthouse. Everyone braced for impact. The 4 members stood up and read the verdict. J. Scott, guilty on all counts. Remy gasped. Remy Ma, accessory to Papoose, closed his eyes and remained motionless. The courtroom erupted once more, but this time it was not in chaos or disbelief. Half of the audience cheered, the other half sobbed, and Remy Ma collapsed once. More just like on the first day, but this time it was over. The judge ordered her to be detained pending sentencing, and she screamed, "No, no." Her lawyers didn't even protest, and as they released her, she turned to Papoose and sobbed. He remained silent until Jasmine Dior eventually said, "I didn't win today. I lost my father, but at least now someone paid the price," she remarked outside the courthouse.